I say to this day, and I do it based on my reaction. Obviously, this is personal. I say it's the greatest knockout of all time. First time I ever stood up, I couldn't sit down. I was standing up. I was just like, oh!
I saw that. I saw you stand up. That's the first time.
It was just, what?
I'm expecting him to the last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them. People will argue that. He at least won 3.
I'm a little tough. But will you take care of me forever and ever?
The moment Anthony Joshua delivered that devastating 6th round knockout punch that put an end to Jake Paul's challenge in their massive heavyweight battle, Joe Rogan's immediate response on air perfectly summarized just how huge this moment was for the world of fighting sports. Rogan, who had been vocal about Joshua's knockout power and how dangerous this fight would be for Paul, didn't hesitate to share his thoughts when that final punch connected, describing it not simply as another fight-ending blow, but as something that might be remembered as one of the most savage and unforgettable knockouts we've ever seen in the boxing ring.
Come full steam ahead 100 miles an hour, or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided...
The match, officially promoted as Judgment Day, was scheduled for 8 3-minute rounds in the heavyweight category, with Joshua coming in as the obvious frontrunner because of his top-tier background and physical size edge. He measured 6 feet 6 inches tall and came in at roughly 243 pounds, while Paul weighed 216 pounds. Following a few careful opening rounds, Joshua started taking charge, dropping Paul several times during the 5th, before closing out the contest with a punishing 6th round knockout at 131, connecting with a powerful right hand that dropped Paul flat and made the referee wave off the fight.
Anthony Joshua. Paul was sturdy for the first couple of rounds, but as the fight went on, the more experienced Joshua began to take control. After continuously connecting in the 5th round, it was only a matter of time before it was over. In the 6th, Joshua went on to knock out Paul with a big right hand. Joshua improved his career record to 29-4 now. Paul loses for the 2nd time in his career.
The Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul fight became one of the biggest talking points of the entire year, not only because of who was involved, but also because it highlighted the massive divide between old-school heavyweight boxing and the new age of internet celebrity-driven fighting.
Performance by Jake, brother.
Come on, bro. He's a fucking legend for that. He has such big balls getting in the ring with that guy, dude. Joshua's a monster. He stayed in it the whole time, and I'm really proud of Jake, dude. All my respect to him, bro. I mean, dude, he went 6.5 rounds with Anthony Joshua, one of the best in the world, so I got nothing but respect.
And got up like 2 times?
No, it was sick.
Talk about that. I mean, there's been other heavyweights that have felt that right hand who haven't got up.
Nagano, so many people, bro. The overhand right. Jake's got a tough chin, dude. I think he does whatever he wants after this. He just has such big balls, dude. He had to keep moving. That was the only strategy. People are gonna say he ran around the ring. They don't know. They don't understand fucking boxing.
You showed a ton of heart, right? What's next for Jake?
Joshua, who previously held the unified heavyweight championship twice, came into this as an overwhelming favorite. Paul, originally a YouTuber who switched to boxing, had leveraged his online following to attract huge viewership to his boxing matches, even though traditional boxing fans questioned whether he belonged at that level. Still, hardly anyone genuinely thought he had any real shot against world-class heavyweight strength.
Some people believe in fairy tales. Whoever believed that Jake Paul was going to win, that was an absolute fairy tale. I've got a friend in a group message that said, I just put $20 on Jake Paul to win. I was like, bro, you just wasted your money. There was never a world in which Jake Paul was going to beat Anthony Joshua. It was always a matter of how the fight would end. So I watched all the pundits talking about the fight. Even Rosendo, my boxing coach, I was like, does Anthony Joshua represent boxing? Everybody from that world felt like Anthony Joshua was representing boxing. And as the fight started to go on, first off, he was representing boxing, so they wanted him to get the job done. All right, first and foremost. You can't lose to a guy that's perceived to be a YouTuber, even though today, Jake Paul is more boxer than YouTuber. I've said this time and time again. When you have resources, when you can spend $1 million a year on training camps, housing, food, coaches, this is not recreational anymore. He's a boxer. He's just not a boxer at that level. I ran into his brother in New York City. And I said to Logan, what parameters are in place, Logan? What safeguards do they have to make sure that Anthony Joshua doesn't hurt your brother? He said there are none. He goes, they're going to just straight fight. So in that regard, you got to give credit.
Following the bout, Anthony Joshua spoke candidly and thoughtfully about how he performed, stating that although he finished things with a 6th-round knockout, he felt his performance wasn't up to his usual standards and thought he was capable of doing far more. Joshua confessed he needed to perform better because he found it difficult early on to connect with clean punches and wasn't able to trap Jake Paul in the corner as fast as most people anticipated, describing it as a victory but not a successful performance, and stressing that he still has plenty of room to grow.
There's a lot of things, 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or...
Even with the knockout victory, Joshua went out of his way to recognize Jake Paul's courage and toughness inside the ring, explaining that although he eventually got the 6th-round knockout, Paul demonstrated genuine fighting spirit by constantly rising back up after being knocked down and refusing to quit against a much more seasoned former world champion. Joshua mentioned that very few fighters would have agreed to step into the ring with someone at his level, and that Paul's determination to keep pushing forward, even when things got rough, was worthy of recognition.
AJ's won 6 rounds, he kind of dismantled him, he took his time. How do you see it?
Yeah, it was a frustrating 2-3 rounds maybe, because Jake was moving so much, holding, but did well, I thought. I mean, I was impressed with him. I mean, I was more impressed with his toughness, because I think that last shot would have knocked out most heavyweights. I mean,
Well, he broke his jaw.
Yeah, I know, it knocked him out, but he was not unconscious. You know, I mean, look, he may not come back from it. If he has broken his jaw, it's a big injury to come back from.
Well, there's pictures of him in hospital right now.
Well, listen, you've got to respect him, because he did what many people wouldn't do, which was get in the ring with him. And, you know, he didn't, I know he run and hold, but he also let his hands go at times. And he was in the firing line, and, you know, we got 6 good rounds in the end of actual work.
You see it in the end?
Yeah, I actually think it's a positive, because, you know, we could have gone in there and got it all over with 45 seconds. He's done an 8-week camp, and now he's done 6 rounds. He's got something to go back on.
Paul sustained a broken jaw during his 6th-round knockout defeat. Following the powerful right hand from Joshua that finished the match in round 6, Paul, with blood coming from his mouth, mentioned during the post-fight conversation that he believed his jaw was broken, which was later verified to be accurate.
What's your reaction to it?
I'm just so proud of him. My mom has it.
Your brother fought his ass off, man.
Yeah,
I mean, other heavyweights have taken that right hand and only took 1.
I'm just so proud of him. That was incredible. In my view, that was a victory on all fronts.
Right.
Like, minus the actual victory, obviously, of course, but bro, like, no one expected him to last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them. People will argue that he at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring to bring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet, who's 40 pounds heavier than him and 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet. My brother, as a fucking YouTuber, went 6 rounds with him in a fight with a broken jaw and rolled ankle. I'm so proud of him. That was just unbelievable.
I saw you talking crap to AJ at one point.
I'm trying to get his head. I think I pissed him off. I was just saying fucking shit. I love AJ.
Yeah.
But bro,
I saw you going down the fight game.
I was talking so much. But I just pissed him off. Then he broke my brother's jaw.
Jake embraced his trademark confidence with a bold social media update, posting a picture of his x-ray that revealed a double broken jaw. Paul captioned it, "Double broken jaw. Give me Canelo in 10 days." Medical imaging and x-rays showed that his jaw had fractured in 2 separate locations, commonly called a double broken jaw. He took himself to a hospital following the fight to get medical care. The estimated healing period for this type of injury was somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks, and Paul shared pictures and status updates on his social platforms, verifying the breaks and expressing gratitude to his supporters.
Nikita, just down here, Jeffrey from the Sun. Just to follow up on Jake, he said he broke his jaw in the aftermath. Has he gone to hospital? What's the health update on Jake?
Yeah, we think he broke his jaw. He's fine. We met with Netflix afterwards. He took a shower. He drove himself to the hospital. A broken jaw is very common in sports, particularly in boxing or MMA, and I think the recovery time from the doctors and surgeons we've already talked to is...
Nakisa Badarian gave Paul credit for his toughness, endurance, and fighting strategy, pointing out that Jake had performed remarkably well considering he was facing one of the most dangerous punchers in heavyweight boxing, and that he possibly even took a few rounds early on. That said, he stressed that the actual cause of Paul's defeat wasn't a shortage of boxing talent, but rather the substantial size and weight gap between both fighters, with Joshua's heavier build and raw power constantly draining Paul's stamina and enabling the former champion to deliver forceful strikes that eventually resulted in the knockout. Badarian made clear that Joshua's physical superiority was a huge factor in breaking Paul down, making the point that Paul's effort was worthy of acknowledgement regardless of the loss.
That's what happened. And ultimately, Jake Paul lasted a lot longer than anyone said he was going to. And I haven't seen the official scorecards. I don't know if anyone else has, but I think he might have won a round or two or even 3. He was doing tremendously well in there against a person who is vastly more skilled, vastly larger, vastly more powerful. And he did it on 4 weeks preparation.
What would you like to see next for Jake?
I'd like him to take a beat, relax, and then think about when he's gonna fight next. You know, we talked about June, July timeframe. He loves this sport. He loves MVP. He loves the athletes. He loves giving them platform and push. This young lady right here, the whole time when I was talking to her, I said, what do you think? She goes, Jake's gonna win. I believe in him. He can do whatever he wants to do. That's the kind of family that we're building at MVP. It's a fighter-first organization. You guys saw our weigh-in yesterday. That stuff costs a lot of money, but we want to put on the best brand for these fighters to show the world.
Several fighters gave Jake Paul recognition for his bravery in facing a former heavyweight champion and making it to the 6th round, particularly considering the difference in size and fighting background. They noted that Paul displayed courage and commitment even though he ended up losing by KO. Eddie Hearn recognized Jake Paul's commitment, though in a more careful way, saying that while Paul demonstrated some grit, the final result was predictable from the start. Hearn mentioned that nobody seriously thought Paul would survive long against someone with Anthony Joshua's abilities, and making it into the 6th round had more to do with his ability to absorb punishment than any real boxing technique. He suggested that Paul's showing only made more obvious the distance between internet crossover fighters and top-level professionals, underlining that although lasting several rounds was worth noting, it didn't alter the reality that Joshua's background and punching power controlled the entire fight.
I mean, first 2 or 3 rounds, a little bit frustrating because you've been out of the ring for a year and a half and you've got a guy that's just running around the ring and, you know, you can say you've got to cut him off, but when they're moving at that kind of speed and they're holding up close, but his clinching was quite good, Jake. Like, yeah, listen, you know, I'm not saying he's going to go and win a world title, but he just fought Anthony Joshua and went 5 and a bit rounds. So, you know, respect to him, and it was good to get some rounds in, to be honest with you. He's got a new team. If it would have gone 45 seconds, maybe people would have been more impressed, but we wouldn't really have got any ring time. So we've got that, and now it's a case of when we're at next.
You described Jake as average a few years ago. What's your assessment of him now?
Decent. If you listen to what I said in the build-up, I said he used to be average, now I think he's decent. And the same. I think he's like a top 50 cruiserweight in the world. Top 50, top 60 cruiserweight in the world. So, yeah. And look, you know, like I said, I hope he's okay. 4-0. 4-0 to Matchroom over MVP. But we're friends now. So respect to him.
Any message for
Fury? Listen.
Once the fight ended, Ryan Garcia shared his thoughts on social media with a direct and attention-grabbing comment that generated significant buzz throughout the boxing community. Garcia posted that while he had respect for Paul's courage, he also drew a harsh comparison that included Gervonta Davis, another well-known boxer. In his post, Garcia stated, "I think Gervonta would have done him worst. indicating that Davis would have landed harder shots or finished the fight even more brutally than Joshua managed to do. A lot of experts share Garcia's view and don't consider this top-tier boxing. Even now that the fight is over, disapproval of the matchup persists, with certain observers claiming that the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight should never have been approved from the beginning.
Fair play to Jake Paul. He has a lot of guts, and the fact that he wasn't carried out of this fight on a stretcher, you know, certainly I guess you could say is a positive. But what did I think about this? What did I think about Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul? Look, it felt like Anthony Joshua carried him. It felt like Jake Paul brought in as much of a negative anti-style as possible, circling away, constantly holding Joshua, constantly falling to the ground. Again, while you're certainly going to give respect for the YouTube star turned fighter for having the guts to put on this type of show and to stand in there for as long as he did until a clean right hand in the corner when Paul was absolutely exhausted, dropped him and ended the fight. This is not elite boxing. And we knew that coming in, but if these fights are going to be sanctioned as official fights, like the Mike Tyson fight from last year, like this one, how much longer is the appetite for the fan going to be there when this is such a bad look overall for the sweet science, the sport of boxing, which, you know, cannot get out of its way anyway?
Those who criticize it emphasize that the difference in size, background, and ability between a former heavyweight world champion and a social media personality who turned to boxing was far too wide, turning the fight into more of a show than a real competitive match. Many claim that allowing Paul to compete against someone with Olympic credentials and genuine heavyweight knockout power created serious safety concerns, which became clear through his broken jaw and repeated knockdowns.
We're being taken 6 rounds by Jake Paul. We're in the aftermath here. The press conference is going on behind us. We're yet to see Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua out here. Ak, you were ringside, you were around the whole fight. People are complaining that Anthony Joshua may have embarrassed himself in there tonight, letting Jake take him 6 rounds.
It's ridiculous. Anybody that saying that doesn't know anything about boxing. First off, if you see how Jake was moving and clinching the first 3-4 rounds of that fight, you would understand. It doesn't matter how bad you are. If a fighter in front of you is destined to not get hit and not get knocked out, it's almost impossible to knock that guy out. When Jake was okay with exchanging and trying, even he was exhausted, he said, I'm gonna try, that's when AJ was there to land the shots. AJ did what he was supposed to do. Not easy to knock a guy out that's surviving, you know that.
Yeah, I do. I wondered early on whether he didn't have a lot of adrenaline and he was walking Jake down. Jake was making himself small and moving away. And AJ said, you know what, I'm gonna take my time here and marinate you.
Exactly, listen, when a guy that's moving like Jake, that's inexperienced, you're going to gas out. I knew it after half the first round. If Jake keeps moving like that, he's going to gas out in 2-3 rounds. And I noticed that AJ said, okay, I'm gonna let him run around, right? People are screaming, cut the ring off. Let me let him run around and gas out. Once he gassed out, what happened?
Professionals argue that these kinds of crossover spectacles damage the credibility of professional boxing, prioritizing showmanship and pay-per-view profits instead of genuine athletic competition, and that the fight mainly existed for publicity purposes rather than sporting value.
The bigger picture, you and I are boxing guys, we go to boxing all the time. The question we perhaps need to ask is, did that entertain the fans tonight? Should we be seeing that again? Is that it now? We've seen that novelty. Should a fight like that between an Olympic champion, a heavyweight world champion, against a relative novice, should that be sanctioned and licensed by a commission? You know, it was a one-off. Jake's a one-off, but we shouldn't be seeing a lot of these events, in my view.
Never again. We should never have that gap of experience,
the mismatch,
skill set should never happen again. I mean, to your point, Jake is an anomaly, right? Like, we can let him get that off. He tried it, and he even landed a couple of shots, but you saw at first, I mean, as soon as he landed first right hand, even he saw, I can't hurt this guy. I'm not gonna.
It was a pebble hitting a tank, is how I've described it.
Great description. So I think it's, in some sense, we needed to have this in order for it not to happen again.
System.
Right. In order for it not to happen again. And look, let's not ignore that there were other fighters on the card who were watched, who were seen, from places all around the world. So it served its purpose, and kudos to Netflix for allowing it to happen.
Yeah, Baumgardner was very good. Alicia Baumgardner defending her belts. Caroline Dubois was very good. She signaled herself to the American market, as you mentioned. So at least they benefit from it as well tonight, which will continue to happen with MVP and Netflix.
And that's what Jake and Nikisa, that's their agenda, right? Of course, it's Jake, but Jake has all of that in mind. Who can I showcase on this event? He did it for Amanda Serrano. She's made millions. He's starting to look, Dubois, she looked great. I want to see her again. Me personally, I became a...
What do you think? Was this fight a legitimate test of skill, or just a spectacle that should never have happened? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.